Welcome to WatchYouWant.com. Thanks for logging on. Today, we've got a special watch to look at from the Panerai line. This is the Luminor 1950 Chrono Monopulsante 8-Day GMT Ceramica. And that's a mouthful, I admit. But the bottom line is that with a watch that packs this much feature content into one 44mm case, it kind of deserves the name. The bottom line is that this is a ceramic mono-pusher GMT chronograph. This watch has all of the toys. If you're into the basic Panerai look, square, broad shoulders, low aspect ratio, almost cushion case, sits light on the wrist but has a lot of wrist presence in terms of size, bold features, large geometry, highly legible dial, that signature device protecting the crown, you've got it with this watch. But you've also got a lot more. Now traditionally Panerai watches, the Radiomir, the Luminor, even the fairly basic Mare Nostrum chronograph, if you ever come across one of those rare beasts, again, they're just not very complicated. The chronograph is about as adventurous as it gets. But this watch goes a step beyond, and it starts with this case. Now, Panerai has been working with ceramics since the 292 Black Seal from, oh my goodness, over half a decade ago at this point. And this watch right here represents a roughly 2008-2009 edition. One of the more evolved examples of the ceramic, because not only do you get ceramic, but you get it in the highly contoured 1950 case shape. Now, take note that this is not the 47mm 1950 case that it was made famous by the 127 of 2002. This is the same, more highly contoured, articulated, arguably more attractive case style, but in the 44mm size. Proportionally, it reads exactly the same. It's just a bit more wearable on an average size wrist. Now, what's cool is that this ceramic has the same hardness, and that goes for the bezel, the case, the lugs, and the device protecting the crown, the same hardness as sapphire. So if you're familiar with the scratch resistance of a sapphire crystal on a modern watch, you know how you can almost never damage those unless you really give them a huge knock, or you go straight at them with a diamond. You're going to get that same scratch and scuff resistance on the case. So it's like the Achilles heel of those awesome black watches of the late 90s and early 2000s has finally been overcome using ceramic. Now the ceramic material does cover the entire case, so you've got that all aspect protection. Moving inward from the case itself, that's where the complications start with this watch. Now it is a mono pusher chronograph right here. This pusher at 8 o'clock starts the chronograph, and it is actuated by a traditional column wheel mechanism, which you can see right there. The column wheel ensures that you get that tactile feel that you expect from a high-end chronograph. There's none of that slightly sluggish, slightly duff, almost doughy pusher feel that you get on the so-called coulisse or cam-operated chronographs. This is top of the line. Panerai spared no expense. And to that end, Panerai launched its own movements in the mid-2000s, and this caliber here, based on the 2004, was one of the first. They wanted to go all out to establish their credibility as a manufacturer, so they loaded them up right off the bat with an 8-day power reserve. Not only do you get that mono pusher chronograph, but they have right here at 6 o'clock what's called the Dog Fang Panerai Power Reserve. 8 days, the indicator moves from left to right as you wind it up and then back as it discharges. With an 8-day power reserve, this is the perfect watch for those who have a collection of watches. If you're a prolific collector of Panerai and you're looking to add some complicated pieces, this is perfect for you because you can take this off the wrist for a week and not have to wind it until you put it back on without having to worry about resetting 2 time zones. Awesome convenience, and I also like to say that if you have a big power reserve in a watch, it's really useless if you don't know where the state of wind is at any given time. You're going to find yourself rewinding it just for peace of mind. With the power reserve indicator, you don't have to do that. Now, I'm going to stop the chronograph. I reset it. Now, I'm going to go into the device protecting the crown. You see that iconic shape protects your crown from damage, but it also allows you to work the crown easily. You don't have to screw it in and screw it out like you do with an Omega or Rolex dive watch. This is as easy as can be, and it saves wear and tear on the crown seals as a result. Now you see I can move that hour hand independently. That's my local hours. I pull it out all the way, and now, let me just pull that out all the way. Well, first you can see that the constant seconds hand hacks right here, which is really nice. So you can set it precisely to a reference time. Now I move both the local, see right here, and the reference time in sequence. So I can move them singly or individually. And right here, if you watch, you'll see there is a 24-hour AM/PM indicator in the subdial at 9 that moves along to tell you whether that second time zone has you looking at day or night, 8 a.m. or 8 p.m. as it were. This is a high legibility dial. In the Panerai tradition, you're getting that sandwich dial, which has the loomed plate on the bottom and then the stencil that goes over it with cutouts for the indexes and the numerals. It glows like a torch at night. This is just as visible in the dark as it is in the day, and because all of the hands, including the small ones on the subdial, are amply loomed, you can use all of the functions, including the power reserve, in the dark. This is a fantastic watch that offers a ton of content, and it's almost like the Tudonero in the sense that everything but the loom in the hands is blacked out. And you turn it over and you can see why. Now this right here is a Panerai Caliber 2004 that's been completely PVD anodized black. And while PVD on the exterior of a case can be somewhat vulnerable, PVD under a sapphire crystal is safe and sound and allows you to actually get a better view of the details of the movement. Now this watch, as originally released, introduced a lot of innovation to the Panerai line. Not only did it introduce the manufacturer movements, not only did it have a fantastic power reserve and that second time zone capability, and not only does this one have the chronograph on top of that, but it's free-sprung, so very rugged. Free-sprung balance means you can take shocks, and they're less likely to affect the timing of the watch. They can't move a sliding regulator that sits on top of the balance wheel in the spring. When that object moves on a regular movement under shock, it changes the timing of the watch permanently. Here, that's done with variable inertia balance blocks, so you don't have to worry about that regulator moving. It also insulates the balance wheel with a dual anchor, not a single-sided balance cock that's hanging out cantilevered. A gorgeous movement, beautifully finished. Panerai put a lot of thought into making this movement look good, not just work good. So it's a very comely watch front and rear, and is one of only 500 produced. It's also a rare watch. Panerai watches these days are built in flights of about 75,000 a year, so to have an example that was only built in 500 units is really quite exceptional. And even more exceptional when you have one of those rare potential collector watches is to have all of the boxed set, the papers, the accessories, the documents of provenance and manuals, and this PAM00317 Luminor 1950 Chrono Monopulsante 8 Days GMT Ceramica has all of that. Everything including the jeweler's tool to swap out the straps, and the accessory rubber strap if you want to take off this nice suede number and go in the water. A fantastic watch with a ton of content, and as a rarity, one with real collector potential. If you're into Officine Panerai, and you already have a couple of watches, and you want to add something that just completes your collection, or if you're looking to get into the brand and join the Paneristi, I can't think of a better way to make a splash and get off on the right foot. Check this 317 out on our website, watchyouwant.com. Check out its complications under high-res photography. I'm confident that if you're in the market for a complicated collectible Panerai Luminor, this will be the watch you want. And of course, the wrist shot, 6 1/3 inches, 16 centimeters.